Good morning. Welcome to our joint meeting between the Committees on Water and Land and the Committee on Health and Homelessness. It is Thursday, February 8th, 2024. We're on our 8:30 a.m. agenda in conference room 430 at the State Capitol. Just really quick, if you're on Zoom to testify, please do not use a virtual, copyrighted, or trademarked image as a background. And please keep your cameras and microphones off until it's your time to testify. Okay, we're going to just jump into our agenda. We have one item, HB 1836, relating to health. First up to testify is Board of Pharmacy.
Good morning, chairs and members of the committee. I'm James Gizuski, Executive Officer for the Board of Pharmacy. I'll just stand on our written testimony and here for any questions.
Thank you. Next is Walgreen Co.
Good morning, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Mihoko Ito on behalf of Walgreens. We did submit testimony in support of the intent of this measure, but did have some proposed amendments that we wanted to offer. Basically, in the aftermath of the Maui wildfires, there was a group that got together, a pharmacy group that got together to work on emergency provisions related to pharmacy to make sure that people had the ability to, have access to their prescriptions as soon as possible after the disaster. And that group really went in with a fine-tooth comb and crafted some measures that we think were really helpful in those days after the wildfire. So this bill actually addresses the issue of refilling prescriptions up to a 30-day supply on an emergency basis. But the other two areas that were addressed in the proclamation, and it is, by the way, in the existing emergency proclamation now. The other two areas are allowing pharmacies to utilize centralized services. So for a company like Walgreens, for example, they can turn on additional support and resources on the mainland to help with filling gaps, that exist when after a disaster. And then the last piece is establishing mobile or temporary pharmacies. So I did submit some language that is based on the emergency proclamation, and I would just ask for consideration of that in a proposed House Draft 1 that we attached to our testimony. We're happy to work with the stakeholders on any refinements that are needed, but I did just put something together that's pulled directly from the emergency proclamation. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, come on up.
Lori Lum on behalf of CVS Health. We are in support of the intent of the bill, but also, as the previous testifier said, we were one of the stakeholders involved in working with the administration after the Maui wildfires. And so we ask that you consider some amendments to align the bill with the emergency proclamation language. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. And I apologize if I'll make sure you get the written testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee, apologies if our testimony was late also. Dawn Karisu on behalf of HMSA, just providing written testimony supporting the intent with comments. So I can share that with staff if needed. We have it. Okay, perfect, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, members' questions?
Can I make a comment? I just want to thank the stakeholders who worked on this in the community. I think, we had a lot of conversations, as well as I know legislative members also worked on it. Unfortunately, we are going to see more and more of these kinds of emergencies. So I think this is a really important gap-filling measure that we need to move forward with. I know that the experience from the pandemic was not quite like the wildfires, and it was a much longer and extended emergency. But these are the kinds of things that we've learned, I think, from the pandemic and the wildfires. And I know that there will be many more, again, emergencies to come. So this is really important gap filler measures. So I thank the community and the legislators who worked on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Any more? Rep. Kobayashi.
Just a comment. Would somebody take a look at, try to refine the term dangerous drug or dangerous device? Number one, it applies to animals, and it doesn't say that you're taking it for medicinal purposes.
Thank you, Rep. Kobayashi, for the question. I appreciate it. And yes, in the proposed draft that is attached to my testimony, we do take care of that. Part of the issue was that this language was actually based on a statute in California, and it wasn't harmonized with the Hawaii revised statutes. So we did take care of that in the proposed draft. Everything relates back to the HRS and the existing definitions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, members, any more questions?
Good question.
Okay, seeing none, we'll recess for decision-making, and we're going to come back at 11:30 in this room for decision-making.
Thank you for
Thank
that
you.
courtesy.
Aloha kakahiaka. Welcome to our Committee on Water Land hearing. It's Thursday, February 8th, 2024. We're on our 9 a.m. agenda in Conference Room 430 at the State Capitol. If you're testifying in person or on Zoom, please try to limit your testimony to a few minutes, at which time we may ask you to summarize just to ensure we have time for questions and answers. If you're on Zoom, please turn your camera and microphones on only during your time to testify. And to stay in compliance with YouTube, please do not use copyrighted or trademarked images as a virtual background. Chat function on Zoom should only be used for technical assistance. Okay, getting started on HB 1613 relating to water catchment, Department of Taxation.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Clinton Piper, Department of Taxation. We'll stand on our written comments available for questions.
Thank you. Tax Foundation of Hawaii on Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We have submitted written comments. Basically, we think that with the small amount of money that is contemplated by this bill, it's probably a lot more efficient to have the agency just hand out checks as opposed to going through the tax system and going through lots of programming changes, the cumulative effect of which could run in the hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all we have signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Okay, seeing none, members' questions? Okay, no questions. We'll move on to HB 1542 relating to land use, Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Katia Balaciano on behalf of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. We stand on our testimony in support of this bill.
Thank you. Hawaii Department of Agriculture.
Oh, sorry, I strategically stuck myself in a corner. Dexter Kishida, Hawaii Department of Agriculture. We stand on our written testimony with comments. Just a few things we're concerned about: total acreage, location of areas, and that there may be other factors. So we definitely want to defend our ag land, but also understand the pre-existing conditions that are being solved in this piece of legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. State Land Use Commission on Zoom.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony with comments.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau and on behalf of Ag Day 2024. You have a written testimony. We support the intent. We understand kind of the mechanism behind this. However, we want to be cautious. Make sure it's kind of a one-time thing. If there's no true ag value on those lands that are already have homes, if there's no future ag value, but also importantly, from a right to farm perspective, those surrounding farms, as long as they're not going to be impacted by converting this into rural. We have been before this body before, suggesting we should look at rural. In no way are we advocating for removing agricultural lands out of ag designations. However, that was a catch-all. So special conditions like this may be appropriate. We just want to be cautious and, again, make sure that we do protect agriculture's interests. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. That's all we have signed up. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Okay, seeing none, members' questions? Okay.
For Land Use Commission, Mr. Ordenker, are you still with us?
Yes, I am, Chair.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your testimony. I noted the concern that you raised at the end about the effect of the town decision and whether or not a contested case would be required. Do you have proposed amendments or changes that you think would address that for this bill?
I'm, to be honest with you, Chair, as you know, I'm highly supportive of the intent of this measure. But I think that that's something perhaps we need to discuss with the Attorney General, because I'm not sure how to handle that particular issue. But I can work with the AG and try and see if I can come up with some language.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Members, any more questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to HB 2721 relating to wildfire protection. First up is DLNR.
Aloha Chair Ichiyama and Vice Chair Poi Poi, and members of the committee. Don Chang, Chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources. We stand in strong support of this measure, and we will stand on our written testimony. I would just like to say that the Fireshed Partnership is being modeled after our Watershed Partnership, which has been very successful. So we feel very confident that this is the approach to take. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Department of Hawaiian Homelands.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, DHHL stands on its written testimony and support. Thank you.
Thank you. Clay Trauernich.
Close. Clay Chowernick, mornings Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Clay Chowernick. I work at University of Hawaii, but I'm submitting testimony as an individual. And I worked on wildfire management and science in the state of Hawaii since about 2013. And I would just have submitted written testimony. I just wanted to add a couple comments that this approach, as it will sort of follow best practices, so scientific practices that are pointing towards landscape scale planning and fuels conversion, all these land use practices that we kind of need to be applying at the landscape scale to be more proactive and less reactive. And so I wanted to make that point clear, and that we do have a model that was just mentioned, the Watershed Partnership. So thank you very much. And I'm around for comments if you have questions about how this might work. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I have DLNR again, but I am Earth Justice. Oh, next one. Sorry. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members, questions? Okay.
Question for DLNR. Thank you, Chair Chang, for being here. I just have to wonder, could this fire prevention management work be done through the watershed partnerships that are existing? Do we need to set up a whole nother system?
I'm going to ask Michael Walker, who is with the department. I'd rather have him come up and answer that.
Thank you.
Michael?
Potentially, if you hired staff that are like the Fireshed coordinator and people on each island branch, because there's really a lot of work involved in doing the cross-boundary collaboration with different landowners. So the watershed partnerships already have a lot on their plate. They have an established network which we could tap into, but in terms of staffing and such like that, if you really wanted to do this cross-boundary stuff, it's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces, and people would need to like collaborate. So there would be additional staffing needs if you decided to go that route.
Right. So I guess maybe then that would be my question. Could we just add additional staffing to the watershed partnership program and have those staffing specifically to look at wildfire prevention, right? But not have to recreate a whole nother wheel, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? You have one watershed partnership meeting and then you have a fireshed partnership meeting, but it's the same people at both meetings?
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, they could be. They would be like Leeward Haleakala Watershed Partnership would be a role player. Mauna Kahalavai, the Waianae Mountain Watershed Partnership. Not super familiar with the Leeward Hawaii ones that would be involved in that, but you could just add the staffing. You could add fire people to those. That could be a potential solution for you if you wanted to consolidate that. It's just you would need those staff to be able to do that fire collaboration. That's because while most of the watershed partnership work occurs in the priority watersheds and the forested areas up Mauka, there is some overlap with, say, rangelands and ranches and things like that, but a lot of this stuff is going to be focused in the lowland leeward areas as well. So members of the Fireshed Partnership might not necessarily be members of the Watershed Partnership. You know, there would be some additional membership, and so I'm exactly sure how the legal framework of that is and how those folks would be added into the partnership.
Got it.
Clay, do you have any more input on that? That would.
Yeah, only the stress.
Oh, Dr. Charnock, why don't you come to the microphone?
Again, I think the impetus behind this idea would be that you have a lot of these lowland areas that are mixed agricultural and other land uses, a lot of private ownership that just doesn't quite fall under the current, responsibility of the watershed partnerships. As Mike said, they're mostly focused up Mauka, higher elevation, whereas our fire problem is down low. And when we look at the maps, for example, of the watershed partnerships, while they cover a lot of land and a lot of sort of cross-boundary in a similar model, they're significantly understaffed, right? Those programs typically only have about 5 staff on a coordinator, something along those lines. And so this would be really seeking to expand capacity to do planning in those lowland areas.
So what I hear you saying is it wouldn't necessarily be the same people that are currently part of the watershed partnerships. It would be different people,
Yeah,
different landowners.
it would expand the landownership and the partners significantly. And while, as Mike said, the watershed partnerships might play a role, so some of them are doing projects in these areas, the majority of them are focusing much higher elevation, kind of native ecosystem areas.
Well, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Members, any more questions? Okay, seeing none, now we will move on to HB 2472 relating to the conservation of threatened species. DLNR.
Good morning, Chair Chiyama and Vice Chair Poi Poi, Don Chang, Chair of the Board. This is an admin bill, and we support this measure, and we stand on our, we have some amendments, but we stand on our written testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Earth Justice on Zoom.
Good morning, David Henkin, Earth Justice. We really hope that the committee can appreciate how bad this bill would be if we're concerned about protecting our native species. There's absolutely, I mean, this bill is titled related to the conservation of threatened species, but all that it would do is strip away vital protections. It would give the department the unilateral power to override the legislature's judgment in passing Chapter 195D that our threatened species need the same level of protection as our endangered species, which has been for decades. And then once a species is listed, it would give the department the ability to give licenses to harm threatened species without going through the habitat conservation and incidental take license process, cutting out the Endangered Species Recovery Committee, and pardon me. Anything good that they want to accomplish, the department already can accomplish under existing law. Chapter 195D4F already gives the department the authority to issue licenses where it's for the purpose of conserving or promoting the conservation of threatened species. You don't need to enact this law to do that. We've reviewed the administration's proposed amendments. They take out some bad parts of it, but they basically, anything good is redundant with 195D-4F. And so there's no need to do this and create any confusion. And the last thing I'd say is at the Senate hearing on this, there was a lot of talk about how this would benefit Nene. Nene are state listed as endangered, not threatened. So this has nothing to do with Nene. And I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you. Next is Sierra Club of Hawaii. Okay, not present. Is there anyone else wishing to testify?
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair. Deputy Attorney General Danica Swenson. The AGs did not submit any testimony on this bill. However, I did just want to be present because I know a lot of legal questions came up during the Senate version. And To be honest, I'm a little confused why there are comments saying that this would strip protections from our threatened species, because the intent is clearly to give the agency more flexibility in assisting private individuals with actions that can help threatened species. There's a lot of situations where an individual might need a license under this proposed law that they don't necessarily need a whole habitat conservation plan because they're a small entity or individual. Also, this bill calls for rule, or allows them to make rules. It doesn't unilaterally give them the authority to promulgate rules. Any rules made pursuant to this amendment would have to go through the Chapter 91 process, which is intensive and involves a lot of public input. So no rules will just be unilaterally issued if this bill is passed. Also, although 195D4F currently does allow the DLNR to issue temporary licenses for certain things, it only allows those licenses to be issued for scientific purposes or educational purposes, which can include cultural activities and activities that will enhance the survival of the species. Also, currently 194D4F allows for lethal take of threatened species under the licenses that are allowed to be issued right now. And it's clear based on the proposed bill that the amendments would only allow for non-lethal take, which would include things like harassment, which can even include just disturbing a species' existence. So you walk too close to it and it gets disturbed. That's a take. So things like that an individual might need a license for. That's all. Question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Questions, members?
For DLNR? Thank you, Chair Trang. Can you give us a hypothetical scenario that this bill is meant to address?
Danica?
I understand nene are endangered, right? So threatened species like honu, green sea turtles.
What about our Marconi?
Yes. I can't think of a threatened species that's there. A lot of our birds are listed as threatened, I believe. And say a private homeowner has a threatened bird or insect take up a habitat on their lanai, and they have a cat or a dog, and they're concerned about that bird or bug or whatever it may be getting destroyed. They could apply for a temporary take license under this provision where they don't seek to lethally take the animal or its nest, but that they can take the species by moving the nest to a more appropriate location under a take license. And I don't know for sure that's what DOFA intended. This is me thinking on the spot as something that could happen.
And I apologize, we don't have DOFA here?
We have someone from DOFA, but I don't think the biologist is present. Oh, she might be on Zoom. There she is. I see her. Catherine Stanaway.
Okay, Catherine, is it all
Yes.
right? Catherine?
Good morning,
Yes.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. It's Catherine Stanaway from the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Division of Forestry and Wildlife. An example to answer your question, as David Henkin mentioned, we spoke about nene in the Senate hearing. They've been downlisted by the federal government to be threatened species. So if state law followed suit and also downlisted them as threatened, we could permit landowners for habitat restoration activities. Right now, you're not allowed to disturb or do anything to an empty nest. And so during habitat restoration activities, a nest may be disturbed by equipment or something like that. So we could permit landowners doing habitat restoration to potentially run over a nest, an empty nest, no chicks in it, or also for predator control on their property if a nene gets harmed but not killed during predator control. We could permit landowners to do that to do predator control. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanway.
Catherine, is that applicable to, remember we had to remove the cat feeder boxes?
On Big Island.
On the
at
Big Island?
Queens Shopping Center, I think it was, or King's Shopping Center.
Would that have been an example of how this would apply? Gave us the authority to do that? Or we didn't give, we recommended to the landowner that they remove those feeder boxes because they were eating the cat food.
Yeah, as long as no nene were killed, we could give a permit for non-lethal take under this. And they would have to provide this would have to be part of a conservation action project or program, so they'd have to provide DOFA with a management plan.
Okay. And I guess my second question is, we heard testimony from Earth Justice that you may have some authority under 195D-4F, but as AG clarified, only for scientific or educational purposes. So I guess why not just clarify your existing authority under 195D-4F versus creating this whole new section, subsection H?
Well, this would apply only to threatened species, whereas if we just clarified subsection 4F, that could apply to both threatened and endangered. And DOFA is specifically looking at threatened species.
Okay. Okay.
But that could be another solution as well.
Okay. And then last question on your proposed amendment. You're asking to take out the word department and instead say the board or authorized representative may issue a temporary license. Who is an authorized representative?
I think that would be the chair, or anyone else that the board authorizes to act on their behalf. So sometimes departments or divisions of the department will go to the Board of Land and Natural Resources and ask for the chair to have certain authority for minor actions. So it could be foreseeable that DOFA would go to the board and ask for chair or the head of DOFA to be an authorized representative to sign off on certain of these permits.
And we've done that in the past. For example, if there's a management plan, DOFA will provide us with an overarching plan, and part of that implementation is authorizing aspects of that to be either approved by the chairperson or the DOFA administrator or someone else that's designated. But in the absence of that authorization, they'd have to go back to the land board for any changes.
And in this, though, by adopting these amendments, you wouldn't have a management plan, or would you?
No, so you're right, but there are situations where if DOFA came in with a, so for example, I don't know, Catherine, if you've got an example where there could be a request, a broader request, and the board gave authorization to implement, they could designate to a particular administrator other than going back to the board. Has that come up before, Catherine?
Yeah, I believe our forest reserve permits have been delegated to our administrator or branch managers, depending on what they're trying to accomplish.
Also, under the rules that could be promulgated pursuant to this amendment, those rules could include scenarios in which a management plan is required to be submitted and approved by the board for one of these. So that's something that would happen in the rulemaking stage regarding when one of these temporary licenses needs a management plan or not.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just define temporary. How long is temporary?
So that's another thing that would be addressed in the rulemaking process. I don't believe there is a definition of temporary right now, but it's usually related to a distinct action that you want to take. So you say, like, in the nene example, I want to create a better habitat for the nene that are nesting on this field I have, but I need to mow the grass first. So the temporary license would be issued for the duration of the activity, not indefinitely or for the in perpetuity of their ownership of the land.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for DLNR.
Yes. Catherine? For Catherine?
I can ask it and then we can figure it out.
Okay, both of us will try.
Just in the examples that were given, I have concerns that this will reduce protections for threatened species. So I just want to clarify if the examples given are actual examples of what could happen, like the individuals specifically. As a homeowner, I could get a license to move a nest with potentially no experience or understanding of the species from my porch to somewhere else. I'm just concerned that giving those kinds of authorities to individuals is a good thing to do.
No, that's Catherine, I am not as with that. Could you confirm, do you have examples and addressing Vice Chair Poipoi's question?
Sure. Any non-lethal take would have to be part of a conservation action project or program. So we wouldn't allow just anyone to get these permits. You would have to go through or have to present a valid reason that this is a conservation action that you're taking and would benefit the species.
And Catherine, do you have specific examples on how this would operate? Because it's elevated to a proposal. So what were some of the concerns that the department had?
Another example besides the Nene example, or?
Yeah, or the purpose for this bill, it came up, I mean, DOFAL must have felt that it was really important that you propose this bill, so.
Yeah, we have had instances where working with landowners on mitigation projects and on other types of conservation actions where they've wanted to even just shoo a Nene away, and you're not allowed to do that under, because it's listed as endangered under state law. So with getting a license like this, as long as you're doing a conservation action and the department reviews that conservation action, you could potentially get a license for shooing a Nene away from harm that could come to.
But that license would be temporary.
Yes.
So after it expires, you have to get a new license to go shoo them away?
Yes.
Okay.
Or I know that just seems a little extreme. But could your conservation plan be that's the activity? The activity is shooing them away. So if they come, you can. That's all that you're permitted to do, rather than having to come and get a whole new license again. I mean, this is a little weird. I'm asking my staff. Obviously, I'm not as up to date on this. Catherine, I mean, it does seem a little absurd that they have to get a license every time. So is the conservation plan would permit them to identify the proposed action so that every time they want to shoo a bird away, they don't need to get a new license. They can just shoo the bird away as long as it's consistent with the plan.
And just to add, how do you confirm that the shooing away is what is not going to be harmful to the bird or the species? Like, how do you confirm that that action is not harmful?
We have biologists on staff that would review the management plan and ensure that. I think that's why these are temporary permits, to review the action. We could add in our administrative rules that we could require the permittee submit a report to ensure that the action is not harmful to the Nene or to whatever species is listed as threatened.
Okay. And why so they're delisted from endangered to threatened. And it seems like Nene is the prime example that is being used. So why all of a sudden, like, do we want to, I don't know, like, allow these permits? They've just been delisted recently, and now they're threatened, and now we want to have permits to allow people to have more interactions with them. Do you think that could be negative at all in any way to the Nene population?
I believe they were delisted in 2019, so it's been a few years, and we, again, would want to review the actions and make sure that they are consistent with and not going to harm the birds. So that's why we want the oversight of this being part of a conservation action project or program.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add to that a tiny bit?
No, it's okay. Thank you. Any more questions, members? Okay, Kanani. No, it's okay.
For maybe you or both. Or so currently, does the state provide permits at all, or is this the first time that we're trying to issue these take permits or incidental take permits?
Yes. We do currently have a mechanism to provide for incidental take licenses under an approved habitat conservation plan or a safe harbor agreement.
Okay.
But those are big financial burden. Habitat conservation is a huge financial burden. Usually it's things like wind farms and other energy projects that have those type of programmatic agreements. Whereas there's a lot of smaller programs that it's not necessarily the best mechanism. And so there are currently mechanisms to allow for temporary licenses.
I'm just gonna stop you there. I just have just a brief follow-up question. So would somebody have to get a permit at the federal level as well under the Endangered Species Act as far as the two entities that require the incidental take permit? Is this in addition to what we're doing at the state level? I'm just not familiar with incidental take permits happening at the state level. It's always dealing with federal cases, so.
Look, Catherine, could you answer that question?
Sure. We routinely work with the federal government to issue incidental take licenses under, we have state habitat conservation plans, and then the federal government has federal habitat conservation plans, and they issue what they call incidental take permits.
Okay. So would it be duplicative? Would somebody have to do both? Get one with the state and the federal?
I'm actually not sure if under federal law, if you need a permit or if they just allow certain actions by rule.
I guess the point is it seems a little redundant, but thank you so much. You guys provided enough information. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any more questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to HB 2466, DLNR. Kurt. Chair Chang?
I'm going to sit down and let my staff, who's much more learned than I am.
Okay.
Kurt, please.
Good morning, Kurt Cottrell, Administrator for the Division of State Parks. Unlike the previous measure you just spoke about, this is an attempt to simplify government. The context is this is all about the state's duty to warn. 27 years ago, Act 190 was passed, established the Task Force on Beach and Ocean Safety, which is why you see all the signs at the beach parks now that have all the pictographs. 21 years ago, after Sacred Falls, we established the Risk Assessment Working Group. And just for context, I'll explain to you why we feel that these groups are not necessary now. I want to read to you who is comprised of the Act 190 Task Force on Beach and Water Safety. The Chair of the Board of Land and Natural Resources or the designated rep, the Director of Business and Economic Development and Tourism or their designated rep, the Chairperson of the Department of Oceanography at the University of Hawaii or their rep, 4 people appointed by the governor, each of whom shall be publicly employed water safety personnel, provided the governor shall appoint 1 person from each of the respective counties. The chair of the board serves as the chair of the task force. Task force submits a report of its recommendations to the ledge, and the governor no later than 20 days prior to the convening year regular session. The Risk Assessment Working Group is comprised of the chair or board, chair of the board or their designee, the mayor of each county or their designee, the administrators of the Department of Division of Forestry and Wildlife and the Division of State Parks or their designees, the Attorney General or their designee, and a person appointed by the chair of the board knowledgeable in warning sign design. So that's a really long explanation as to why, at this point in time, 2 decades later, we're not really putting in new signs. We're replacing all the existing signs. On occasion, due to social media, we have to post a new hazard warning sign as the public pioneers a new route. But for example, State Parks has over 300 warning signs throughout our state park system. The intent of this made sense when these were new programs, because we needed the guidance of all these subject matter experts. But at this point, our staff for both Forestry and Wildlife and State Parks and the county ocean safety guys, we all know where the signs go. We all know the typical conditions we're posting for. So in this respect, both of these huge task forces are unnecessary. We've institutionalized the management of both our beach and our trail and park warning signs.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jessamy Town Horner on Zoom.
Aloha, thanks for having me and good morning. My name is Jessamy Town Horner. I was born in Hawaii. I'm a part of a family dedicated to public service. I'm also a water safety advocate and a coordinator of the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition. We work often with state and county leadership in this area. I'm here because I'm testifying at a personal level. In 2016, I lost my husband and daughter due to a rogue wave set at the Makaputai Pools. There was no warning due to an offshore storm or of an offshore storm, despite the fact that both DLNR and Ocean Safety were aware of it. I'm here to be the voice of many families who lost loved ones in similar circumstances throughout the state. While Act 190 may meet a legal duty to warn, it does not meet our government's moral duty. And we should be doing so much more, not less, to inform beach, coast, and trail users, including using digital platforms. Drowning is the leading cause of death for our visitors, and Hawaii has the second highest rate of drowning of residents in the nation, many of them in the ocean. I oppose this bill as written and offer my suggestions in my written testimony. I'm also available for questions should you have them. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members' questions?
I have a question for Kurt. With this group in place, you'd have to meet how many times?
It's based on need. The groups haven't met for over, the task force on beach and ocean safety hasn't met in over 10 years because there's been no need to put in new signs. So it was kind of on a basis of need. And we went through a very rigorous process with the county ocean safety officers, 27 years ago when they would go and actually go to each beach park with ocean safety folks with this group and determine what the ocean conditions were that the public was exposed to, and then the type of signage that would be warranted to provide the state's duty to warn. And I have utmost sympathy. I'm aware of the case she's speaking about. The other option that government has in these kind of conditions, which we do at Kaiwi, is we close the access when we're notified by ocean safety that the surf is going to be jeopardize, human safety. We frequently do it at Ke'awa'ula. Where we have lifeguards, where we pay the city and county to provide lifeguard services, we have a very good dialogue and communication on our state beach parks in our park system that may be subject to hazardous conditions. We have lifeguards at Makena, which is one of the leading spinal cord injury beaches in the state. And so, we spend over $5 million a year providing lifeguard services, contracting with the counties at predetermined beach parks where we know there's reoccurring hazard and exposure. One-off places such as Kaiwi, which we don't manage or maintain any way to get to those tide pools, but everyone goes down to it. Our best method is to close it at the top of the trailhead and say, closed, don't go down, dangerous conditions.
And I guess through the years, we have learned that you and the counties work together to get more immediate action?
Yeah,
to
no,
these-
we're in, the county lifeguards have all of our district superintendents on speed dial, and particularly during hurricane season, where we get high surf advisories, so that our park units that have access to ocean hazards, we can work with the counties.
So I can understand that this group may have been way back then very necessary, but through the years, I think we have done better in government to deal with these hazards. Thank you.
No, thank you.
If I could just add, thank you, Representative Morikawa. We're not proposing to do away with signs. We're proposing that the working group is no longer, because any new signs would be approved for state by the chairperson, any county signs would be approved by the mayors. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any more questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to HB 2465 relating to regulation of archaeological activities. DLNR.
I also have Alan Downer with me today, too. So, Don, good morning. Don Chang, Chair of the Board. This is an admin bill. We believe this is a really important bill for us. This provides DLNR, in particular State Historic Preservation Division, the tool to require if a mitigation plan, barrier treatment plan, something has not been completed, it is now deemed a violation. So many times after we've completed the reviews and we've written a concurrence letter, we don't know whether they've complied or not. They're not required to come back. Well, they are required to submit us reports, but they always don't. So this is a tool that ensures compliance. If not, then we have recourse either through taking away either a fine or also holding the archaeologist deemed in violation. So this is an important measure for us. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Okay, members, questions? Okay, no questions. We'll move on to HB 2029 relating to historic preservation reviews. DLNR.
Thank you very much, Chair Chiyama and Vice Chair Poi Poi. Don Chang on behalf of the department. I also have Dr. Alan Downer here. We support this measure to provide DHHL the authorization, allow them to review, assume historic preservation review on their properties. Thank you very much.
Thank you. DHHL.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The department stands on its written testimony and support. I'd also like to take this opportunity to speak to some of the comments that were made in one of the testimonies. Even though it's written in opposition, there are parts of it that the department agrees with. So when it comes to staffing, we would appreciate the opportunity to have not just an adequate amount of FTE positions and staff, but also a fully comprehensive program. What I think is ultimately under question is not the department's ability to execute with efficiency, it's our integrity to the process. To be clear, we are not trying to change the process, we're asking for the opportunity to execute it. And we also agree with Shipti from DLNR that they should be CC'd anytime we go through the process and complete those reports. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Okay, members, questions? No questions. We'll move on to HB 2703 relating to the administration. Oh, we are on 2219. Oh, 2219 relating to the Commission on Water Resource Management.
Good morning, Chair Chiyama and Vice Chair Poi Poi. Don Chang on behalf of the Chair of the Water Commission. So this is a specific request to add DHHL to add another member. We've provided comments and we stand on our written testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. DHHL.
Aloha, the department stands on its written testimony in strong support of this measure, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all signed up. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Seeing none, members, questions? Okay, no questions. We'll move on to HB 2703 relating to the administration of the Commission on Water Resources Management. DLNR.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair Chiyama, Vice Chair Poi Poi, and members of the committee. This is also a companion bill to Senate Bill 2337. Not a companion bill.
Not a companion.
30, okay, not a companion, but we had a similar hearing yesterday. So I'm going to stand on my written testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Attorney General.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, committee members. I'm Deputy Attorney General Miranda Steed on behalf of the department. We have concerns with this bill because it seeks to appoint independent legal counsel to the Commission on Water Resource Management. Currently, the Commission is represented by the Attorney General. The Attorney General is in a unique position to represent state agencies because we represent so many of them. And not only is the department subject matter expertise in many different areas of law, including water law, the department also has subject matter expertise in a number of other areas, including the Procurement Code, Sunshine Law, Uniform Information Practices Act. These applied widely to state agencies, and we are concerned that if independent counsel were delegated out, rather than having the Attorney General represent the Commission, private counsel just wouldn't be able to provide as good of legal representation, particularly because beyond litigation, the department also provides advice and counsel. The department reviews all administrative rules that come through. And because, again, the department does have such a wide breadth of representation of the state, it has understanding of what is going on in other agencies and is able to ensure that how the commission acts comports with the other statewide goals so that we have a cohesive government. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you. Wayne Tanaka, Sierra Club of Hawaii on Zoom. Okay, not present. Karen Kanekoa on Zoom. Kanoilani Stewart. Stewart on Zoom. Okay. Archie Kalepa on Zoom. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members, questions? Okay, I have some questions for the department.
I also have staff present.
Okay,
if I
sounds
can't
good.
answer them.
So in the department's testimony, it says that you believe the Attorney General provides sound and timely legal services in the best interest of the Commission. I just wanted to confirm that you're aware that this bill doesn't preclude the Commission from utilizing the Attorney General. It just adds the option for the Commission to seek outside counsel.
And we are aware
Okay.
of that. But as the Deputy Attorney General testified, I think we are comfortable with having the AG continue to provide counsel to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the state Attorney General has in the past needed to hire outside counsel. For example, in regard to the climate change suit brought by our youth against the state, and we've spent millions of dollars on this outside counsel. And the Attorney General's office cited they've required additional expertise in environmental litigation as the purpose. One of the purposes for seeking the outside counsel. So just in your opinion, could there ever be cause for the CWRM to retain legal counsel outside of the Attorney General in any scenario?
Yeah, and I appreciate that question. I mean, I was formerly a Deputy Attorney General when the Water Code was adopted, and now I sit in this position as the chair. I've not come across any situation, any legal issues that have been raised before the Water Commission that I did not feel the Attorney General's office could competently defend CWRM.
Okay.
I don't.
In your past experience.
Right, in my past
Okay.
experience and my current experience
Okay.
as the chair, I have not found any legal questions that have come up that the Attorney General's office did not have the level of competency to address that.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. So last year, after the fires, on behalf of the Attorney General, the department, in coordination with Alexander and Baldwin, brought a claim before the Supreme Court claiming there was not enough water to fight the fires. This is related to East Maui water. However, the county of Maui said that this was untrue and that, in fact, the water that was used by the county was far less than the amount available. Oh, it's for the department, thank you. Yeah. It appeared as if the Attorney General didn't check with the county to confirm their claim before filing the petition. It just appears that way as a member of the public. Even after being asked multiple times to walk back those claims in light of new facts, do you stand behind the position the Attorney General's office took?
I stand behind the Attorney General's advocacy of the department. Would I have said the same thing? I don't know. I wasn't in that position. But do I continue to support the Attorney General representing us? I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the changes proposed aren't new necessarily to our government. They're already existing in other areas based on, and similar to, and even parts identical to the Land Use Commission. So just curious why you may feel that this model wouldn't be a positive change for the seaworm?
You know, I've been struggling with that. For me, I really want to be thoughtful that we are not, that this major reorganization is not a reaction to an incident, but it's really a mindful, a thoughtful assessment about what's the best structure for seaworm. My struggle is DLNR, our mission is to preserve and protect natural and cultural resources. We have been advocating a maka to makai ahupua'a approach. Our ability to do that is based upon having access to water resource knowledge and land knowledge, that we're looking at the entire ecosystems for the best, not only for this generations, but future generations to come. Taking seaworm totally outside of the department, in my mind, hampers our ability to really look at the maka to makai, the whole ecosystem. But I do recognize that there could be some fine-tuning. I don't have an objection to having the water deputy be an executive director. I mean, I think it is helpful to have stability and some institutional knowledge. I may disagree with the issue is that there's politics. I mean, I think we all have a different perception. I've not, so there are some parts of the bill that I don't have an objection to. But for me, I'm really struggling with this whole notion of how do we best manage our resources? And DLNR has this very unique mission. And that unique mission is met because we have the ability to cross boundaries and not to have silos. So while I really appreciate the desire to make seaworm more independent, I don't know whether that's in the best interest of our resources to do that at this time.
Okay, thank you. And just as a quick note, there are 23 agencies or divisions that are exempt from 28.8.3, which does allow outside counsel, just as a quick note, sure. But no question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, members, any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to HB 2263, relating to the East Kauai irrigation system. DLNR.
Thank you very much, Chair Ichiyama and Vice Chair Poipoi, and members of the Commission. The department supports this measure, and we stand on our written testimony.
Thank you. Agribusiness Development Corporation.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I'm Wendy Gady with the Agribusiness Development Corp., and we stand on our written testimony of extreme support, and we are here on behalf of our farmers that will be deprived of 5,900 acres diversified ag production without this water. We're also standing in support because this would violate the state constitution in the water allotment for DHHL.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chairs, Vice Chairs, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We'll stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Local Food Coalition on Zoom? Okay, Jerry Ornelas?
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jerry Ornelas. I'm a former president of the East Kauai Water Users Cooperative. It's great to see some familiar faces here, and I see some new faces, which is great. So I have submitted testimony. It's somewhat lengthy, but I would respectfully ask that you read it. You have an important decision before you today. I'm not going to read it word for word. I will say this. I need you to understand that the system is owned by the state of Hawaii. It services state lands as well as private lands. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is that the reservoirs associated with this system, and there are 3 of them, Upper Kapahi, Wailua Reservoir, and Reservoir 21, all 3 of them have been renovated. They're some of the safest reservoirs we have in the state of Hawaii today. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. It's been a long journey for us. I've been coming to this building for 20 years now, testifying on this matter. Our family farm has been using water from this system since 1964. We're in the 3rd generation of water users now. In 2000, the Louis Plantation announced that they were going to go out of business. So the farmers and ranchers on the east side of Kauai were understandably alarmed. I personally called DLNR and was told that they were not obligated to provide us with water. So we came to the ledge, went to worked closely with DLNR, and obtained a revocable permit in 2001. We operated the system largely pro bono. We did get some monies from the legislature, approximately $75,000 a year. On most years, we would get funded. In 2016, because of the East Maui irrigation system court case, it was determined that revocable permits would no longer be permitted. So we approached the DLNR, said, well, okay, what do we need to do to get a permit? They told us you have to do an environmental assessment of each of the watersheds that you operate in. They're very, very costly to do that. You have to come up with a watershed plan and pay for the implementation of that plan. And finally, you have to go to public auction, with no guarantee that we would receive that we would get the license. They gave us 3 years in which to comply. At the end of the 3 years, we were obviously unable to comply. We did not have that kind of resources. So DLNR has been maintaining the system. They've hired an outside contractor to do it, and we are very appreciative of this. In the interim, when we try to figure out what we're going to do, the solution is, as far as we're concerned, and we think the best solution is to transfer the system from the from DLNR to the Agri-Business Development Corporation. Food security is so important to us. These systems being publicly owned, if we start to decommission them, what message will we send to the private landowners who have many reservoirs, especially on Kauai? The message is going to be the best solution is to decommission. These reservoirs serve multiple purposes besides providing irrigation water. They are artificial wetlands. In our ignorance in the past, we've destroyed many of our natural wetlands. These reservoirs, especially the ones on Kauai that I am familiar with, are all homes to endangered birds. Recently, we're dealing with wildfire issues. These reservoirs serve as basins where firefighting helicopters can dip water and fight wildfires. So again, ask for your consideration on this. And on my farm, I grow tropical fruit and I raise rice. We are trying to revive the rice industry in the state of Hawaii, and this is extremely important to us. So again, thank you for consideration, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, members, questions? Okay, no questions. We will move on to HB 2464, relating to the dam and appurtenance improvement or removal grant program. Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. Not here. Okay. DLNR.
Good morning, Chair and Vice Chair. Don Chang with the Board of Land and Natural Resources. This is an admin bill we strongly support, and actually this is appropriate right after Mr. Ornella's testimony. This program does provide grant money to private landowners for purposes of supporting the continuation of some of these dams and appurtenances that are necessary for ag as well as fire suppression. So we strongly support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We are in strong support, obviously. I think Mr. Ornelas articulated well the importance of reservoirs. We have 127 regulated reservoirs. I think 90% are considered risky or high risk. You heard us last year talk about the cost for Wahiwa, $26 million. We cannot afford to lose this water infrastructure. We want to increase food production. We want to support the farm to school. We want to support the farm to food bank, our double bucks program. We want more ag. We're not going to do it without water. So thank you for your consideration. I will be here for questions. I think that's the first time I've said it, but this is very important. It's an administration bill, but it is one of Farm Bureau's top priorities this year. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. That's all signed up. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Oh, members' questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to HB 1907, relating to stream maintenance. DLNR.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair. Don Chang on behalf of the Board of Land and Natural Resources. We oppose this measure and we stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn Otaguro on Zoom. Scott Snyder. Okay.
Thank you, Chair Ichiyama and the board for letting me speak. I'm a homeowner in Manoa, and I'm speaking in support of this Bill 1907. We're long-term residents there, my wife and I, and we were there during the 2004 flood. Primarily, that flood occurred from albizia trees blocking Woodlawn Bridge and caused upwards of $85 million in damage. The challenge with this section of the stream is that it's privately owned. That's unusual and not ideal because the actual homeowner is responsible for cleaning the stream, and it's written in some ordinances as such. But the ordinances are written to talk about shopping carts, bicycles, and other things. They don't talk about debris, large pieces of concrete washing down, or 4-foot diameter albizia trees. Currently, the stream is being overrun by albisias. I formed a group with the help of Ko'olau Mountain Watershed Partnership and Malama Manoa, and for the last 2 years, we've done stream sweeps in this private section where we've gone and gotten permission from all the landowners, and we've pulled out upwards of 2,000 saplings, albizia saplings, each time we do our projects. We are very concerned about the albizia. We've We've surveyed 57 fully grown albezias growing in the stream right now. And we know that storms are going to be coming, and those trees could be taken down and cause another major catastrophe. The good thing about this measure is that it is a partnership with the landowner. All the times that I've had government entities at my house to talk about the stream, it's the same story. We can't touch your area. It's private property. Army Corps, DFM, DLNR, they can't touch any of it. Hands off. I have it in writing. So a lot of the people that live along this area don't even know what an albizia is, and they don't even care about the stream or know about it. And I've been in touch with anywhere between 80 and 100 of these homeowners over the last couple years. We've been dialoguing back and forth about trees and about stream clearing. So the problem is land access and liability. And this measure actually addresses that in a creative way where it still puts the onus on the landowner, which is very important. These landowners need to pay for their trees, but we need to give them a little bit of incentive. A small couple $1,000 incentive is something that they just might need to go and hire an arborist to clear these trees. Now, to clear these trees, it's no joke. It's, anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 to clear one. And I spent 3 years clearing my property myself. I hired people to clear it. So yeah, it's very expensive and it's very challenging. So this is a very creative way and smart way to actually partner with these people. And I read that in some testimony that that the landowner benefits. Just the people that live on Manoa Stream. No. When I do my advocacy work and when we do these stream sweeps, we're looking at the broader community. We're looking at downstream, even beyond UH. This is a broader community issue that needs to be addressed, and the broader community will benefit, and it ties in with the Alawai Flood Control Project, where the Army Corps is ignoring this upper part of the stream. This is 1.1 miles of Manoa Stream. The Army Corps is not addressing this at all, or is the city and county. This is a forgotten area of stream bed that is overrun with invasive trees right now. So I encourage you to vote for it, and I support it. Any questions? Let me know.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Okay, no questions. We will move on to HB 2331 relating to infrastructure, DLNR.
Morning, Chair and Vice Chair and members of the committee. Don Shang on behalf of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. We have offered comments and we stand on our written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Katia Balaciano on behalf of the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. We support this bill. We also point your attention to the recommendations that we've attached to our testimony to further improve this bill, but we are in support of the effort here, based in great part what we heard today in regards to dams and reservoirs and their importance to the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We will stand on a written testimony in support.
Thank you. That's all signed up to testify. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Okay, we will move on to HB 1929 relating to water. Department of Health on Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. I'm Darrell Lum, Program Manager at the Department of Health Clean Water Branch. The Department of Health stands on our written testimony with comments, and I will be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all signed up. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members' questions? Okay, no questions. We'll move on to HB 1925 relating to the Hawaii State Planning Act, Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Hello, Katia Balaciano from Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. We stand on our testimony in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of Agriculture, Hawaii Department of Agriculture. Okay, Sterling Higa on Zoom. Joshua Witch in person.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Hawaii State Plan is important for everybody in the state. A long-range, comprehensive plan. It really serves as a guide for the future. It identifies goals, objectives, policies, priorities for the state and helps determine priorities and allocating resources for everything from public funds to services to human resources and more. But it hasn't been really truly updated in about 40 years. And the 2018 Phase 1 update from the Office of Planning was a fantastic start. It specifically contemplated doing a Phase 2 update, which is really what this bill is trying to accomplish. And so it seems like this would be an opportune time to pull together a cross-sector collaborative task force beyond just inside government, which is more what Phase 1 was focused on, to expand that and now try to update the plan for modern times. Here for any questions that you've got. Thanks so much for considering the bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members' questions?
For OPSD, please. Thank you for being here today. I just wanted to know if you can help us fill in the blanks for the appropriation. So there's administrative costs, and then there's a 1 FTE. Do you know approximately how much it would be for those two?
For the administrative costs, it would, we usually recommend a range, leaving it up to the legislators. So something of this magnitude may be somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000. And in terms of a full-time staff person who could assist, that would probably be someone who's a Planner 6, who has the facilitation skills, and, whatever that salary would be at that point in time for a Planner 6.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, seeing none. That's the end of our agenda, so we'll recess for decision-making.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Reconvening our 9 a.m. Water Land Agenda on Thursday, February 8th. We're here in Conference Room 430. Thank you very much to all the testifiers this morning. First up is House Bill 1613 relating to water catchment. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. We're also going to adopt DOE taxes amendments in their testimony. We're going to put in an aggregate cap for this tax credit, blank the amount in the aggregate cap, and then we're going to add a 5-year sunset. Members, any discussion, questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Okay, voting on House Bill 1613 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Chun. Aye. Representative Ganadin is excused. Representative Hashem. Aye. Representative Mizuno. Aye. Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Takayama.
Aye.
Representative Souza.
Aye.
Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next on House Bill 1542 relating to land use. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. We are going to add a new requirement that the area covered in the petition must be supported by the applicable county plan. We also are going to extend the sunset to December 31st, 2027. Okay, members, any discussion, questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 1542 with amendments. Noting Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Okay, hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next, House Bill 2721 relating to wildfire protection. Recommendations to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. Members, any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 2721 with amendments. Noting Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Next, moving on to House Bill 2472. Recommendation is going to be to defer. On House Bill 2466 relating to public land liability, recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on HB 2466 with amendments. Noting Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, members, turning next to House Bill 2465 relating to regulation of archaeological activities. Recommendations to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. Members, questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 2465 with amendments. Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. House Bill 2029 relating to historic preservation reviews. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000. And we're also going to take the DLNR's proposed amendments numbers 1, 2, and 3 as contained in the last paragraph of their testimony, basically notifying the public that DHHL, when they are ready, to assume these responsibilities so that everybody knows that this responsibility will be taken on by DHHL. Members, any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 2029 with amendments. Noting Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 2219 relating to the Commission on Water Resource Management, we are going to defer. And then moving next to House Bill 2703, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted to note before making the recommendations that this bill is not about any single person or any single circumstance. It's about evolving our government to be reflective of our society as our society changes and as the needs and, the desires of our public change. So with that said, we are going to, I recommend pass with amendments on page 12, lines 6 to 8, starting at the words "and managed" on line 6. We're going to replace with "by the commission and serve at the pleasure of the commission." On page 12, after line 21, we're going to bring in some language from Senate Bill 3327, page 17, lines 13 to 21, and page 18, lines 1 to 2. This is just relating to performance review of the executive officer, and just noting that we will keep the position as executive officer throughout the changes and defect the date. And those are the recommendations. Members, questions? Comments?
I'll be voting with reservations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess I'll move to the vote. For House Bill 2703, noting reservations from Representative Souza and Rep. Ganadin as excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Additional? Okay, recommendation is adopted. Thank you, members.
House Bill 2263, relating to the East Kauai irrigation system. Recommendation is to pass a House Draft 1. Defect of the date to the year 3000. We're going to blank the dollar amount and put it into the committee report. Members, any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on HB 2263 with amendments, noting the absence of Rep. Ganadin. Are there any noes or reservations? Okay, hearing none, recommendation adopted.
Thank you, members. Next, House Bill 2464, relating to the dam and appurtenance improvement or removal grant program. Recommendation is to pass a House Draft 1, defecting the date to the year 3000, technical non-substantive amendments, and blanking the dollar amount put in the committee report. Members, any discussion, questions? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 2464 with amendments, Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next, House Bill 1907, relating to stream maintenance. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1. We are going to defect the date to the year 3000. We are going to insert seven FTEs to DLNR for implementing the program. We're also going to put the dollar amount of 700,000 for DLNR to administer. We're also going to add a matching requirement, a one-to-one matching requirement from the property owner for this reimbursement. Okay, that's it. Members, any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 1907 with amendments, Rep. Ganadin is excused. Any noes or reservations? Okay, hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next, House Bill 2331, relating to infrastructure. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defect the date to the year 3000. We are going to adopt the amendments made by Office of Planning and Sustainable Development that was attached to their testimony. We're going to insert the amount of 500,000 into the committee report. Any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 2331 with amendments, Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next, House Bill 1929, relating to water. We are going to defer. And then finally, the last bill on our agenda today, House Bill 1925, relating to the Hawaii State Planning Act. We are going to pass out a House Draft 1, defect the date to the year 3000, and we're going to extend the sunset of the task force to June 30, 2027, so that they may provide comments to the 2027 legislature. We're going to insert the dollar amounts into the committee report. Members, any discussion? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 1925 with amendments, Rep. Ganadin is excused. Are there any noes or reservations? Hearing none, recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. We're adjourned.
I'm lead, right? Yeah. Aloha and good morning. Welcome to the House Committees on Tourism and Water and Land. It is Thursday, February 8th, 2024, 11:15 a.m. in conference room 430. Professional testifiers, please stand on your testimony when possible. We have one bill on our agenda today, HB 2081. I'd like to just let the testifiers know that we do intend to pass this measure out. First up, we have Office of the Governor with comments. Next, we have HTA with comments.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, members. We are present and standing on our written comments. Mahalo.
Fantastic. Look at how well this is going, you guys. Next, we have DOTAX with comments.
Kristen Sakamoto, Deputy Director of Taxation. We stand on our written comments, available for any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Next, we have DLNR in support.
Hello, chairs, vice chairs, Leah Laramie for DLNR. We stand on our testimony in support. Mahalo.
Thanks very much. Next, we have Councilmember Paulton in support. We have Democratic Party of Hawaii in support. The Imua Alliance in support. The Nature Conservancy in support. Care for Ainanao Coalition in support. HLTA in opposition. Do we have anyone on? Okay. Tax Foundation with comments. Tom, are you with us? Aw, okay. Grassroot Institute of Hawaii in opposition. Kohala Coast Resort Association in opposition. ARDA in opposition. And some individuals in support and some individuals in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members' questions. Seeing none, recess for DM. Welcome back to decision-making on our 11:15 agenda for HB 2081. Our intention is to, my recommendation is to take every single one of DOTAX's many suggested amendments and defect the date. Members' questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members, voting on HB 2081, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Holt.
Aye.
Representative Kong.
Oh, with reservations.
Reservations. Representative Lachika is excused. Representative Lamasab.
Aye.
Representative Nakamura.
Aye.
Representative Perry is excused.
Thank you,
your
members.
recommendation is adopted.
Waterland Committee, same recommendations. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 2081 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Chun. Aye. Representative Ganadin is excused. Representative Hashem. Excused. Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Takayama. Excused. Representative Sousa.
Aye.
Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members.
Thank you, members, for your support. I'll start over. Thank you, members, for your support of our Josh Green fee.
Good morning, everyone. Reconvening our 8:30 agenda joint with the Waterline Committee and Committee on Health and Homelessness. Thank you, Chair Bellotti, for allowing us to have this hearing. We are going to do decision-making on House Bill 1836. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1. We're going to delete dangerous drug or dangerous device throughout the bill. We're also going to delete the definition of those terms on page 3, line 19, through page 4, line 3. Instead, we're going to replace it with the term controlled substance, which is already in our HRS. We're also going to adopt the Hawaii Medical Association's proposed amendment and testimony that once a refill is dispensed, that the pharmacist notify the prescriber. And then we're going to defect the date to the year 3000. Waterland members, any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair, House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 1836 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Chun. Aye. Representative Gannon is excused. Representative Hashem.
Aye.
Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa. Aye. Representative Takayama. Excused. Representative Souza.
Aye.
Recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Waterland members.
Health Committee members, same recommendation, HG1, questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Health Committee voting on HB 1836. Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Amato is excused. Representative Iligan.
Aye.
Representative Kobayashi is excused. Representative Martin.
Aye.
Representative Nishimoto is excused. Representative Garcia.
Aye.
Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you.
That was truly a bipartisan.